I don't know. It took everybody, all the po-po and the neighbors and everybody, about 25 more minutes after that happened. So,
What a crazy week.
What? No, it's back. Give it to the quarterback. No, we got the running back. What?
Straight off the couch.
Here are the stories we're going to be chasing today.
I'm not sure if my dog is a story, but I've been chasing her a lot. Good afternoon, boys and girls, moms and dads, kids of all ages. Welcome to Straight Off the Couch. As always, joining me, he puts the in Canada. It's the ever affable and effervescent Adam Weidel. Adam, how are you, buddy?
Those intros for me get bigger every week. It's by the time we're done the season, buddy, it's going to be like a big long paragraph, like a Bible entry or something. No, I'm good. Thanks for asking.
I'm just going to start calling you Duke Kaboom pretty soon.
Yes, we Canada.
Yes, we Canada. So we had an exciting week of football. Let's jump right into it. Thursday night, Steelers at Browns. I didn't see this one coming.
So I alluded to it. I said the stars had to align. Wife's birthday. She's a Browns fan. Thursday night. And little did we know, Jameis Winston had never played a snow game before. We never even thought about that.
I've never seen I'm going to call him a child because he's in his 20s. Never seen a child so excited to see snow ever in my life.
He looked like a toddler. Just like, it's a white Christmas. Mom, Dad, come outside. Look. He was crazy.
Final score was Cleveland 24, Pittsburgh 19, and that was at home for Cleveland, so maybe.
Yeah, so they kind of flipped the script. 8-3 Steelers now with a 3-8 Browns team. Browns don't have a chance at the playoffs by the looks of it this late in the season, but the Steelers' hopes are still up, and they have some divisional matches which they seem to struggle with going down the stretch. They get the Browns again, not this week, but next week. They got back-to-back, so. I think they see the Ravens this week. I'm not sure, but they have a lot of divisional matches. The NFL always does this to us. They wait till the end of the season. They get to that Thanksgiving spot, and then they just start feeding us divisionals.
Well, that's what's going on in the NFC North right now. The Bears they had Green Bay 2 weeks ago. This week they had the Vikings. Next week they have the Lions, and I think then they see the Niners, and then they do it all over again.
I think they have Green Bay and the Lions meet in 2 weeks on a Thursday nighter. So yeah, it's crazy. Let's move on with the next game. What do you have?
Next game up would be the Tennessee Titans. There's no other way to put this. I think they embarrassed the Texans a little, 32-27 at Texas, at Houston.
Yeah, so once again, Houston kind of they come off, they have a slow start, and then they play a very good first half of football, and then for some reason, they come into the locker room with the absolute opposite of adjustments. Like they adjust the wrong way. They don't seem to be able to make much scoring happen in the second half, and we've seen it time and time again.
They don't make an adjustment. They play to their opponent's weakness or strengths.
Titans came out. They played spoiler. It's a 3-8 Titans team. That game was crazy. There was a lot of crazy early window games on Sunday. We were just glued to the TV, going, "What's going to happen next?" And some of them went on for a really long time.
Well, what happened next for on our board here? Minnesota Vikings coming in Chicago and winning in overtime, 30-27.
That game went into the late window about a half hour.
That's because of the overtime and all the flags,
Yeah, there was a lot of laundry on the field in that game, and it's just one of those things. And I know you messaged me and you said they're going to find a way to fuck this up, and I was hoping the best for the Bears here because it's kind of a big upset, especially divisionally, and the Bears really do need to be perfect from Sunday out, but
the coming off the Packer deal with that late minute block, I thought they're going to fall apart, and for the first quarter they looked like that might have happened, but they didn't. They pulled it together. Caleb Williams had a couple of really good 2-minute drills going on. At this point in time, the big glaring issue I see with Chicago is coaching.
Yeah, we know that Eberflus is probably not going to have a job by the end of the season. I think they're going to ride it out with him.
They will,
because
they've never done the mid-season firing thing, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's not their style. They've never done it. They've always done it in the off season. So I think they're going to ride it out. And if the Bears have a good run down the stretch here, he might have an argument for his job. But I think he will. If he does win out for the rest of the season, I think he'll still be in the organization, but he will not be the head coach.
Well, and the Bears have the hardest schedule in the league for the remainder of the season. So.
Yeah, so chances are he's getting fired. So yeah. Vikings, they better their record 9-2. Unfortunately, the Bears and all the Bears fans, the Ditkas were very upset. Dropped to 4-7.
And that brings us to our next really weird game. The Dallas Cowboys go into the nation's capital and pull one off in grandiose fashion, 34-26 over the Commanders.
I'm just going to say it, earmuffs, kids. What a fucked up game this was. There was maybe 14 points. I'm going to say maybe 19 points on the board until 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, and this becomes some sort of who can score the most points shootout in seconds.
Yeah, and then there was the weirdly weird onside kick, pick it up, run it in for the touchdown, and just seal the deal.
Yeah, and he didn't even need to do that. So it starts off with Commanders come back. All they had to do was push him out of bounds, and they had a chance. But no, they let him run the distance of the field. He looks like he's got the tying touchdown, but it comes down to the extra point. The snap is fluffed. The hold is fluffed. The kick is fluffed. Everything's fluffed. So it's 27-26, onside kick. And I think there's only like 20 seconds left in the game at this point. All he had to do was catch the ball and take a knee, and the game's over. But no, he runs it in for a touchdown.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this. He's a fan of cake. He's going the distance.
Yeah, he's going the distance, eh? He's going for speed. It was kind of a weird thing. It could be about padding stats or whatever, but he could have just taken a knee, bring out the offense, one down, and the game's over. But you give the Commanders the ball back with 20 seconds left in probably the most craziest 6 minutes of football I've ever seen.
Well, I think I'm not in his head, but he probably thought, look at our record. What do I got to lose? I'm taking this thing.
Fair enough. And he's trying to, maybe he's trying to
keep his job.
Yeah, keep his job.
I know Jerry's watching.
A contract extension, who knows? So anyway, the Commanders fall to, well, they don't fall, but they have a little more losing on their record. They're 7-5, and the Cowboys, that just look dismal, are now 4-7, and they say there's a chance if all the dominoes fall, and 15 other teams just have a losing season, and the Cowboys win out, they could make the playoffs.
You know what's going to make the difference here, buddy? Daniel Jones. He's going to come in and light it up for him.
There you go.
That brings us to our next game. The Patriots going down to Miami. As Adams pointed out a couple of times here on the show, the Patriots never do well in Miami.
No, I knew this game was going to be a big bust for us. That we can't squish the fish on home turf for some reason. It just never happens. But Miami looked really good, too.
They're a good football team, but they just can't seem to hold it together for a whole season is the problem.
Tua threw for like 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, and did not throw a pick.
I think they need to add a stat line to Tua's stats.
Add a concussion or two?
Yeah, 314 yards, two touchdowns, no interceptions, QB rating of 103, concussion 0.
2 concussions this game. Yeah. So the Dolphins actually improved their record to 5-6. As horribly as that sounds for a record right now, they actually have a chance at the playoffs. Patriots dropped to 3-9. No playoff hopes.
And that brings us to our next weird, wild game. The Kansas City Chiefs going into Carolina, and Carolina was up for a good portion of this game.
So crazy. By far, I think the Panthers, as much as we have some shitty football teams out there, the Panthers find a way to lose every game. They cannot put points on the board, and somehow they came alive and looked like a competitive football team against the reigning champs.
And they like I said, for a big portion of this game, I thought, holy shit, the Carolina's going to win this thing. But Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things. Final score 30-27.
What a crazy one. They tie it up. There's a minute left. Somehow Patrick Mahomes could have got tackled like 12 times. Makes a 38-yard run to get into field goal range, and they let the clock run down to 2 seconds. They make the field goal so they don't have to go into overtime, and the Chiefs win it. They're improved their record to 10-1, and the Panthers are now 3-8.
That brings us to the next one that was a weird, wild game. The Buccaneers going into the New York Giants and putting a 30-burger on them to New York 7.
Yeah, and man, oh man, our boy Baker.
I don't
know if he just deserves sprinkles this week. We should just take him out for burgers and everything because man, oh man, what an amazing player he is.
Well, I saw the highlight where he hands the ball off to his running back, and the running back hits a hole, and Baker's so excited he decides to run down the field and start blocking for him.
Yeah, he was blocking. He was doing Air Jordan touchdowns. He gave the New York fans the Italian, or the New Jersey fans the Italian, whoa, forget about it hands. You know, he was just Baker is just like, he's all in, man. He's a true inspiration for that team.
He's all Baker all the time.
He got Mike Evans back too, which helped a lot.
Yeah, that is going to make a difference.
They increased their record to 5-6, where the Giants dropped to 2-9.
That brings us to the Detroit Lions putting a 24 to the Colts 6 in Indianapolis. None of us are surprised by that.
No, the Lions.
They're the class of the league right now.
It felt like they almost took it easy on the Colts.
They might have, because they're playing on a short week this week.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a typical Lions biting the kneecaps kind of game.
But even at that, they still managed to go out there and put 24 points on them without trying.
Yeah, and this makes the Lions, I think, the best team in the league, because they're actually going out. They've shown that they're beatable. They're not getting the calls like other teams are. They have to go out and perform. They got a great offense, great defense, great quarterback, great kicker. They're 10-1. Colts dropped to 5-7, and there's still a chance for the Colts to make the playoffs.
And that brings us to our last noon game, 1 o'clock game. Denver Broncos going into Las Vegas and beating the Raiders 29-19. That's not really much of a shock to me.
It wasn't a shock to me. Broncos are now 7-5. Their playoff hopes are very much alive. Raiders dropped to 2-9. Gardner Minshew broke his collarbone, the quarterback for the Raiders. So I don't know what they're going to do quarterback-wise.
Don't we see we see stranger danger next, don't we?
Yeah, we're going to see Aiden Hutchinson, or what? Not Aiden Hutchinson. What's his name?
Aiden
He looks like
Aiden O'Connell, I think.
Aiden O'Connell. Yeah, he kind of reminds me, like, he looks like if Justin Bieber drove a white van that said free candy on the side. There's something about that guy just kind of...
No, I think his side hustle is he does those educational film strips as the guy in the van.
Okay. So Raiders dropped to 2-9. There is no hope for them. They are going to be visiting Kansas City this week. I don't know. 29-19 final score on that one. I think the Raiders are just giving up at this point.
Yeah, they're done like dinner. That brings us to our afternoon slate of games, the 3/4 o'clock games. First one out of the gates here is Cardinals losing to Seattle 6-16 in Seattle. Not a high-scoring endeavor at all on either side.
Yeah, it was a strange game. There was a lot of turnovers. Not a super exciting game to watch. There was a lot of laundry on the field, and that game felt like it took a very long time to complete. Both these teams are now 6-5. So, you know, the Angry Birds versus the Angry Square Birds.
Well, and you couldn't, you were, I know what you were hoping for. It didn't come to fruition because the next game, the Niners lose to the Packers 10-38 in Green Bay. But had the Niners won, Seattle, Arizona, and San Francisco would all have the same record.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see that division heat up. Now, like the other two teams in that division are 5-6 now, and those like Seahawks and Cardinals are 6-5. So there's still a lot of competition left in this division. It could swap, and when we get into the last 3 weeks, I think it's all divisional games pretty much across the board.
And the Niners, they didn't have Brock Purdy. They didn't have somebody else. I forgot who it was. But yeah, there's a lot of injuries out.
You're pretty banged up, yeah.
Yeah, so that came to affect the final outcome. Like I said, 38-10, Packers over the Niners.
And that's the first time the Packers have bested the 49ers by more than 20 points, apparently. So Packers increased their record to 8-3. Niners dropped to 5-6. And not to say the Niners are done, because that division still looks to be pretty wide open with 6 weeks left.
And that brings us to Sunday Night Football. Philadelphia Eagles going into Los Angeles and putting up 37 points to the Rams 20. I didn't get to watch part of this game because I was chasing a dog.
Okay, so let me fill you in. The highlights are Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley.
I did see his stat line, 225 yards.
Yeah, so his 225 running, I think he was over 300
total.
In total, yeah. So Eagles increased to 9-2, Rams dropped to 5-6, and the Rams are still very much alive to get a playoff spot. But Saquon, I don't know what New York was thinking. They were just like, let's keep Daniel Jones, and we'll get rid of Saquon.
Well, Saquon and last night's game, the Ravens game, kind of. There's a lot. It's not just the Ravens. Or the Eagles. The Lions have a premier running back who the Chicago Bears let go. This year has kind of proven that running back isn't a fungible position after all. You have to have not a premier back, but you have to have a solid back or a set of backs to keep that ground game pounding and make it efficient for everybody else.
Right. So last couple of years, the NFL teams have decided that we're not going to pay running backs because they're too prone to injury, and we can just replace you with somebody else.
They're fungible. They're a fungible position.
Yeah, but like guys like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, the list goes on of the elite running backs. Jacobs, there's so many.
Chubbs was gone for the first part of the season for Cleveland. He comes back and they start winning.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers. Like, premier backs are a big commodity in the league, and I think you're going to see contracts start increasing for these guys because the game has changed completely. The pocket passing quarterback days are over, and it's all about the ground and pound and the misdirection with the run-pass options.
Well, and the Bears picked up DeAndre Swift. He is one of those guys who was a premier guy. So,
and he's an excellent back, but nobody wants to pay these guys, and I think you're going to see that change in the next couple of years.
And that brings us to Monday Night Football. We were kind of touched on a little bit, but the Ravens besting the Chargers 30-23. It was a really good game. I didn't get to watch the first half again because I was chasing a dog. But the third quarter looked like it was pretty tight and pretty close. And then the Ravens opened it up and let the Chargers let them get 7 at the end, just kind of an attaboy.
Yeah, so the Chargers had a really good stronghold on this game. They started off 10-0. Ravens could not get anything flowing. J.K. Dobbins goes down. I'm going to say second quarter towards just close to the half with a knee problem. He's their premier back and apparently the guy that they've made their entire game plan around. So with him out, he's out for the rest of the game. Chargers just do not have an answer in the second half. Ravens made some gutsy calls, fourth and short plays where they should have punted. They were at their own 16-yard line at one point, and they went for it and they made it. And the gutsy plays make the difference in this game. I think if they don't make those plays, it's a pretty boring game all around because the Ravens don't have that drive. Those explosive plays to kind of boost the morale of the team. And I think it's just a punt fest back and forth.
And that closes out Week 12. Before we get into Week 13, we have our weekly visit from the man. He's all ready to go. He's at the door. He's wearing his black shoes with the big goat beckles on him and the black hat, and he's dressed up like a pilgrim. It's our own Coach Blackwell. Hey, Coach, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, Terry. You have to look good on Thanksgiving. It is coming up to Thanksgiving week, but fashion. We're back with fashion this week. Let's talk about... Okay, I'm done with all of these teams, this white on white after Labor Day stuff. We're seeing it every week. I'm just going to stop talking about it. But the Ravens came out last night, and it's the first time I had seen them wear all white. So I was a little shocked.
Yeah, that was a good look. I'd like to see him go ahead and throw a white helmet with the Raven on there. That'd be...
I mean, Green Bay did it. Why couldn't Baltimore? But the Panthers were sexy this week. That's maybe why they almost bested Mahomes and his gang. They came at black out head to toe, like black helmets, black everything, and they were scrumptious looking.
Anybody else? We have anybody else with the fashion stuff this week?
So Chicago came out in their stripy numbers this week.
The 1934 throwbacks, yes.
Yeah, kind of gave off a little bit of a Willy Wonka vibe, I'm not going to lie. Can they just get the socks right? Some of them are wearing knee-highs, some of them are wearing ankles. I mean, if you're going to be on a team, wear the same stuff, boys.
Well, it's not just that. Some of them are wearing the striped socks, and some are wearing the solid socks.
And then short socks, tall socks, they just don't have any... No wonder why they can't win a football game. They can't even coordinate.
Well, if you're going to go into battle, you might as well clash.
And then the Colts came out in what they're calling their Indiana Knights uniform, just a solid blue. I think it was probably the hottest number of the week, Terry.
Knowing Indiana's history as I do, living so close to it, I'm not sure if you want to call yourself the Knights after inventing the Ku Klux Klan, and they call themselves the Knights as well.
That was a long time ago. We don't even want to talk about it. We're so evolved since then. So Washington, I'm going to change the subject. Washington comes out in their burgundy and golden. I know we've seen it before, but I kind of feel like this is a really hot look.
It is a good look. It really is. The colors remind you of the old Washington Redskins, but it's updated for the modern era. The big yellow W on the helmet, and the helmets with that matte finish on them look really cool.
The helmets are wonderful. That matte helmet is great. There's a couple teams in the league that are doing that. I think the Vikings, they have a nice matte finish on their helmet. There's a couple more. I believe the purple helmets on the Baltimore Ravens have a matte finish.
That's a good look, man.
Just some pretty matte finish helmets. I love them all. And then finally, the Chargers come out with a new look. First time we've seen this year. Instead of wearing that powder blue, they wore a dark blue, like a navy blue.
I've seen that in the past, but you're right. They don't bring it out very often. That's a really good look, though.
It was pretty sexy. Everybody looked so nice.
They certainly did. Well, do you have any big holiday plans there, Coach Blackwell?
I mean, I have to watch my figure, obviously, but I'm going to enjoy a little bit of turkey on Thursday. And, I'm going to be watching the football. There's 3 games on Thursday, and, I got to pay attention to the fashion, so I got to keep my eyes on the games.
All righty. Well, thanks for visiting. We'll talk to you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving, Terry.
And that brings us to our Thursday morning game. We have we have a Thursday morning game. It's national TV. It's Thanksgiving Day. It's Chicago Bears going into Detroit to play the Lions.
Yeah, so that's a 12:30 start.
Correct.
I'd love to say early window, late window. So it's a 12:30 start Eastern time. Oh, fun fact. Did you know that there was 13 games in the NFL this past week, and 9 of them were won by visiting teams?
That's been happening quite a bit this season. With the visiting
I think
teams
the NFL might be a little drunk.
Yeah, go home, NFL. You're drunk.
So Bears Lions. So this is interesting because we have 3 Thursday games. We're considering all prime time because it's a big holiday for America.
This is the only one on Thursday that has any playoff implications per se.
And we have a Black Friday game, and then we have our usual Sunday night or Monday nighter. So we got a lot of picks this week.
Well, I hate to say it, I can't see my beloved Bears beating the Detroit Lions. I'm going to have to go Detroit.
So we're both picking Lions on this game. I don't blame you. I mean, I couldn't pick the Bears. They're going into the Lions' house, and it looks like Lions fans are following the Lions everywhere they go.
The Lions my friend Chris in Michigan, who is a huge Lions fan, he's just blowing up my phone all the time. It's our year, it's our year. You know what, Chris? I think you're right. It might be your year. And that brings us to our 3:30/4:30 game. It's the New York Giants traveling all the way down to Dallas, which is the weirdest division in football, simply because of the geography of the whole damn thing. I don't see the Giants beating the Cowboys, but I don't see the Cowboys beating the Giants either. This is
right. So this is a tough pick. So I tell you what, for this one, because I'm looking and I'm just like, I don't know, the Cowboys they got a win on Sunday, but it didn't look like a good win. It wasn't a nice win. I think they played pretty hard against Washington. They're fairly beat up after that game going into. Yeah, and Washington looked like they were missing a step the entire game anyway. They didn't look like the typical Washington team that we've been spoiled with this year.
Going into a short week, that might play against the Cowboys, but the Giants.
But then I watched the Buccaneers beat up on the Giants going into New York. Yeah. So where's it gonna go? I tell you what, you pick one and I'll take the other.
No, I don't flip a coin, dude. I really can't pick. Okay.
We have to pick because these are primetime games.
I'll take the Cowboys in this one just because they're playing a
Terry
slightly
takes
better
the Cowboys.
game.
I get Tommy Cutlets. Well, I think I'm fucked, but okay.
And that brings us to our Thursday night game. It's on NBC this year, so that's why we have a Friday game. Thanksgiving night. Channel 5, NBC, whatever it is in your local area. The Miami Dolphins going into Green Bay against the Packers. I don't see the Packers losing this one.
Yeah, so Lambeau Field, the turducken, the turkey legs, the whole 9 yards, the whole probably like one of John Madden's favorite places to visit on Thanksgiving.
The spirit of John Madden will be all over the place, yeah. And we'll probably see highlight films of him on the sideline, and they'll talk about Madden about 35 times. And
so Terry takes the Packers, and I have a tough decision to make here. It looks like it's starting to get cold, and they're going to Wisconsin. The Dolphins, I've said 100 times, do not like the cold. I think the Packers take this as well.
And that brings us to our Friday afternoon, boys and girls, afternoon game. It's 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. The Las Vegas Raiders going all the way across a state and a half to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. This is a slam dunk. The Chiefs should take this one walking away.
They've already beat the Raiders once, so this is their second meeting this year. The Raiders did disappoint them, did make an upset last year, but I don't know, man. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and maybe the spirit of John Madden
the Raiders might be able to beat the Chiefs. They can't beat the Chiefs and the officials.
That's my problem. I'm taking Chiefs as well on that one.
That brings us to our Sunday noon/1 o'clock game. We have Texans at Jaguars. I think the Texans are going to figure some things out and get back on track.
I think they have to.
They have to. And that brings us to the Indianapolis Colts traveling into New England to play the Patriots. I'd like to see the Colts play well, but I think the Patriots are going to win this one.
They have to get their fourth win at some point. So, I'm going with the Pats. You're in Foxborough. Weather's supposed to take a dip over the next 5 days.
Right. And the Colts, even though they're from Indianapolis, they're a dome team. So,
yeah, and that's an open stadium.
So that brings us to Chargers at Falcons. The Falcons, before their bye week, they stumbled hard at that last game there. But Jim Harbaugh doesn't like to let his team take their foot off the gas. He's a good motivator and a good coach. I'd be hard-pressed to pick the Falcons in this one.
Short week for the Chargers. We also don't know the status of J.K. Dobbins after that knee injury last night. They're going into a Falcons team that should be well-rested. Now, we don't know because these bye weeks tend to change teams, and especially after the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we're going to see a lot of teams take an upswing or a downturn because it seems to happen every year.
Yeah.
I think the Falcons take this one.
Okay, so that's what That's one we disagree on. We have the Seattle Seahawks going all the way across the country, and I mean all the way across the country, to play the New York Jets. The Jets are in free fall at this point in time, though. The Seahawks have something to play for. I think Seattle wins this one.
I don't see how the Seahawks lose. Their quarterback is throwing. He's a top 5 leader in passing yards, and the Jets do not have that.
The rumors coming out of New York. Rodgers' days are numbered in New York. He may very well get cut mid-season, according to some of the stuff I've read.
I mean, I think the experiment's over. They thought, bringing on this high salary team was going to be the magic button that changed this franchise, but it hasn't.
You know what I find funny about this most of all? Davante Adams.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
What's he going to do? He left Green Bay and went to play with Las Vegas. He wanted to play with Carr. Then Carr winds up in New Orleans. So he goes back to New York to play with his other buddy, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is probably done, and Davante Adams is still stuck in New York. This guy, that poor guy. I mean,
I don't know, man. Like I get that Davante's chasing a ring, but I don't know why you would look at a team that had the same record as the Raiders. Lose to the Steelers and then go to the Jets to play the Steelers again and lose to the Steelers again.
If you wanted to go AFC again, I'd have picked up the phone and called, like Baltimore.
I mean,
or
especially
even the Chiefs and say, I'll take this one for free. Just give me a ring,
I mean, as a player, you think you'd have your finger on the pulse of the league on what's going on, like what teams are hot, what teams are struggling, what teams need a wide receiver. Davante, why didn't you go to Tampa Bay?
I think Davante's had one too many Taco Bell trips. And that brings us to the Tennessee Titans, who I don't even know what the hell they're doing, going into Washington against the Commanders. I take the Commanders on that one. I think they get a little better on this week.
I think the Commanders had a little misstep. They weren't ready for what Dallas was feeding them, and I think they come back wholeheartedly this week. And Jaden Daniels looks like the Jaden Daniels that we've seen previously.
The next game actually has some intrigue for me. Pittsburgh Steelers going into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The Bengals coming off a bye week. The Steelers coming off that hard loss. But they always play each other really tough, really tight. Joe Burrow usually lights it up better in the second half. His numbers aren't bad. It's the defense that can't get anything done. I think I'd lean a little more towards Steelers on this one.
So the Steelers have a really rough schedule ahead of them. They just came off the Browns. They're going to the Bengals. Then they get to see the Browns at home. And then I think they're going to Baltimore. So it's divisional matchup every week for these guys. I'm going to coin flip it. This one could go either way, and it has no implications on our little side bet.
Yeah. This is one of those ones we don't track. It could go either way, but I think if somebody put a gun to my head and said pick, I would choose the Steelers. And that brings us to our last noon/1 o'clock game. Arizona Cardinals going into Minnesota to play the Vikings. I'd have to pick Vikings on that one.
See, I'm thinking Arizona's got something else to play for still because their division's up in the air and they're going into a dome stadium. So the Vikings really don't have a weather advantage. So
no, I think the Vikings play outside in their new stadium, dude. They used to be at the Metrodome, and they don't play at the Metrodome anymore.
Are they an outdoor team?
And I think they're an outdoor team now.
I don't know. We're gonna have to Google fact check that shit.
I'm doing it now.
I thought they were a dome team.
They were for a long time, but not anymore.
Okay. Well, then if that's the case, then I change my answer. If they're an outdoor team, then I say the Vikings win this one handsomely. But I think the Cardinals have
US Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
And it's an open air stadium.
Oh, okay. Cardinals lose. Next.
Brings us to our late slate of games. And that is at the 3:05, 4:05, the Rams and the Saints.
Yeah, so interesting. Rams are coming off a pretty tough loss against the Eagles. Saints are coming off a bye, and they're in a division that you could win this division with an 8-9 record. It's kind of crazy how this NFC South is. So I'm going to coin flip it again because both teams have something to play for. Not the same division, not the same division.
Yeah. We have the Buccaneers going into Carolina. This is a divisional game. The Buccaneers do have something to play for. The Panthers, however, if they play like they did last week, this could be an interesting game.
I'm gonna go with the Bucs for sure because the Baker just proves to me week after week that he's got all the heart.
Tampa Bay and Carolina, they're basically right next door to each other, so the travel time is really nothing.
The guy's doing everything but playing center, he's not. He's even playing defensive tackle. Wow, he's every quarterback that you wanted to be in one. So I think Baker, as much as we talk about him every week and we boast about him, it's just he's proven to me that he's the guy that can get the job done, and it's nice to see him in a home. Panthers, however, not the greatest team, but it really doesn't matter at this time in the season. Teams can come on strong, even if they don't have a shot at the playoffs. They just want to play spoiler, and they just want to finish off the season good, so that some of their contracts can get filled out on, tackles, yards passed, running yards, all that sort of stuff.
Not just contracts.
All bonuses.
Not just contracts. They want to get stuff on film for their next team. So.
Too, and bonuses, right?
Yeah.
They want to achieve bonuses if they can. So there is something to play for, even if you're not a playoff team. This could go either way, but I'm going to take Bucs.
I would too, and that brings us to our 325, 425, the last afternoon game. This one has a lot of intrigue as well. Philadelphia going into the Ravens. We have the two best running backs in the league in the same game.
I'm not even calling this one Eagles versus Ravens. I'm calling this one Barkley versus Henry.
And Henry looks like he's rejuvenated himself, man.
This is a heavyweight bout. This is the two best guys in the league that get it done, in my opinion.
And it's strength on strength. You have the Eagles with one of the best, if not the best, defense in the league going against the Ravens and Jackson, and that whole deal. That'll be a hell of a game to watch. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, both quarterbacks are capable of running. Obviously, the Eagles, they've got the tush push or the brotherly shove, I guess they like to call it in Philadelphia. But I'm looking at two running backs. You got one that
Saquon, who's just playing out of his mind right now. He's having a hell of a career.
Saquon squats 700 pounds, and Derrick Henry will eat 700 pounds. They're both crazy.
Yeah.
They're both crazy.
Yeah, they're going to stiff arm each other before the game. That's instead of high fiving or shaking hands, they're just going to stiff arm each other.
Wouldn't that be something though, eh? They start the stiff arming. It's like running back versus running back. It would be nice if, it was like, after the game they could have like a little race down the field or something, but it would never happen.
Yeah, that'll be pregame warm up though. They're going to meet at the 50, and that's how they're going to stretch out, is by stiff arming each other. That brings us to our Sunday night game. The 49ers going all the way across the country to Buffalo. I'm sorry, San Francisco, you don't stand a chance in hell of winning this game. The Buffalo is on a roll. The Bills are playoff bound, and the Niners are struggling just to figure out what day of the week it is.
Yeah, and I don't think I can go against Josh Allen and the Bills at this point.
Especially
in
clutch. Especially in primetime. At primetime, he seems to ratchet up a notch. So
they came in clutch against Kansas City. It wasn't even, it didn't look competitive at some point. It just looked like the Bills' game all the way through. They controlled the time of possession. They controlled everything. I can't sleep on the Bills. They're one of those teams right now, between them, the Lions, and the Eagles. I can't say they're going to lose a game until they do it.
No, I'm with you on that. And that brings us to Monday Night Football. The Cleveland Browns going to Mile High Stadium to play the Broncos. Bo Nix is really looking sharp. They've got that offense pretty well figured out for being a rookie. The Broncos' defense isn't bad either, but man, if we get happy, Jameis,
I mean, maybe it's a game where Jameis comes out. He's like, I've never played at this elevation. Come on, guys. I don't know. So they're going to Mile High Stadium. So the air is a little thinner, especially for a Cleveland team going into Denver. They don't play there very often. Once every 4 years ish.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good game. I think we have to pick this one. I think I'd go Broncos.
Yeah, you're gonna go Broncos.
Yeah.
Well, the Browns brought me a win last week. And as much as the Broncos look like Broncos have a legit defense, they almost beat the Chiefs. Like, there's so many teams that almost beat the Chiefs already this year. But the Browns, I'm taking them. Yeah, why not?
Okay, all right.
Because
you go, girlfriend.
Yeah, just because I'm looking at our games, I chose Giants, you chose Cowboys. This one is like 3:30 your time, 4:30 my time. It's Thanksgiving Day. This is the perfect after the Thanksgiving dinner nap game.
That's the tryptophan nap, which, by the way, would be a great name for like a punk band.
The tryptophan game of the week. That's what. It's not America's game of the week. It's the tryptophan game of the week. It's it's going to be so boring you'll go to sleep. You don't even need to eat the turkey. But that's the perfect game for that. And I'm looking forward to the Bears-Lions game, and I'm definitely looking forward to Dolphins-Packers. The Browns-Broncos game, I could be surprised. I was surprised by their Thursday night game against the Steelers. Bills 49ers almost has no interest to me, just because I think the 49ers are pretty banged up. And I think the Bills are definitely a Super Bowl contender at this point. Our record right now, Terry, after we've picked, and it's not going to change much next week because we didn't pick too far apart. You now have a record of 24-17, and I came so close last night. I could have been 500, but I am now 20-21.
Oh, you're almost there. I'm cheering for you, man. Up to a point.
So we're still 4 games apart after, I don't know. This happened in like week 3 where you got the 4-game lead on me. I can't catch up. So hopefully this week is the big one.
So where can the boys and girls find us at, Adam?
Check us out on the Book of Faces on the Facebooks. There's a thing there called Straight Off the Couch. Terry does some videos every once in a while. We haven't seen one in a little bit, but he's been chasing a dog, so he hasn't had time. And he's probably pretty winded. He's like, "Oh man, hey gang, I'm tired, but I'm gonna do my video."
dude.
Anyway,
you don't want to be anywhere near my knees right now. Oh man,
yeah. They probably sound like glow sticks.
And where can they find you at?
They can find me on the tweet deck or on the Instagram at Adam Off the Couch. I post random shit, a lot of food stuff, football stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of like an insight into my kind of life if you're into that kind of thing. And you can also find us at Linktree, Straight Off the Couch. It's got all our links to our different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, and you could just watch or listen there. Terry, how about you, buddy?
At TREMUP, that's at TREMUP on X, and at TerramUpTerry on the gram. For my broadcast partner, he puts the in Canada. It's the ever affable and effervescent Adam Whitehall.
Yes, we Canada.
Be safe. God bless everybody. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.